So Kathy came up to me last year at Gen Con and she said, honey, I found this great game. It's really cool. I think you should check it out. I said, great. What's it all about? And she said, alphabetizing books in the library. Oh, yes, that sounds thrilling. Strangely enough, she was actually right. This is Ex Libris. It's put out by Renegade Games and designed by Adam Mickever. And honestly, right now, it's my favorite gateway game. As with any of my games, I like to go through a basics of how the game is played rather than a full rules overview, just so that you can kind of understand the gameplay a little bit, so it helps you better understand the review. Before I get into it, let's set up the game. Before I get into this review, please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below so you never miss an episode. Now, for the purposes of this review, I actually have more than the starting locations out on the board. That's just to make things a little bit easier in explaining how this game works. As I mentioned before, you are seriously alphabetizing books in the library. I know that sounds boring, but trust me, it's actually really fun. Because it's not just any library, it's a magical library, and each magical library gets its own custom cool meeples, such as a robot, or a mummy, or, wait for it, a gelatinous cube. I seriously thought this was a player token, like a first player token for the game, and then I found out it was an actual character, and I may sometimes have set up the deck so that I could play it, because this is the coolest meeple I've ever seen. I don't know. I think it's really funny. You also get these assistants, which will help you out, each with their own little pointy hats. They're little gnomes, as far as I can tell. Anyways, you're going to be taking your little assistants and going to various locations on the game board, which are these locations up here, such as the Ye Old Book Swap, the Diviner's Hut, which will be out throughout the rest of the game, or the Donation Center. You'll be going there, putting your little meeple down, collecting a card, and adding it to your library. Now, what makes things a little bit different is, as I mentioned, you're alphabetizing them. That's really important. If they're not, you don't get any points for them. You have to flip them over at the end of the game. So as you collect books, some of them including Milkable Mammals, The Voyage of Wet Guppy, The Voodoo That You Do, Stickipedia. That's gross. Bees! Sorry. So anyways, like seriously, the book just says bees! That's ridiculous. As you collect these books, you're going to be alphabetizing them in front of you. The tops of the cards are going to help you alphabetize your books. You'll notice there's a letter and then a bunch of symbols. The letter, along with the number in front of underneath it, is going to help you to be able to figure out where it goes in your library. This, for example, is M5 of 8. So M1 of 8 would have to come before this in your library. Another side note, you can do your library in various shelves, because these are each actually a shelf if you look at it. Shelf stability is also very important in this game, so you want to make sure that your books are stacked in such a way that they're not going to fall over. So the largest square that you've made, whether it's like a 3x2 or a 3x3 or a 2x8, is going to score you points at the end of the game. You're also going to be paying very much attention to the books that you collect. Along with showing the letter, there's a bunch of little symbols. The symbols are the various kinds of books that you can collect, such as corrupted codices or fantastic fictions or monster manuals. Depending on the game you're playing, which adds to some replay value in the game, there's going to be various books that you want to collect. In this case, for this game, it'd be the corrupted codices, as well as banned books that you want to avoid. In this case, the fantastical fictions, because for some reason this universe doesn't like fantasy books. I think that's just awful and sad and terrifying. I don't know. You also want to have a wide variety of books. So you don't want to have like 9 of one category and 3 of the other, because whatever you have the least of, you get 3 points for each one of those at the end of the game. So it's better to have 6 and 6, if that makes sense, than 9 and 3. So you want to pay attention to the symbols that you're putting down on the board. Lastly, you're also going to have hidden underneath your card a secret book that you are trying to collect. In this case, the reference text. This is kind of a secret objective that you're having. It's the specialty of your magic library. So that's an important thing that you want to keep track of as you're playing the game as well. The rest of the game plays out that on each turn, the lowest numbered card location that you have is going to come up to the top of the board, and it's going to be a permanent location throughout the rest of the game. Various other locations, such as the tax collector, the local draft house, the auction house, the community center, the garbage dump, the gambling den, the librarian's lodge. These locations are also going to be building up the locations you have available to you throughout the game. So you've got to kind of keep in mind, okay, this is going to be available for me later. The game ends when someone has 13 cards in their library, in the case of a 3-player game. In the case of a 4-player game, it's 12 cards. In the case of a 2-player game, it's 16 cards. That also brings me to scalability. This game is really fun with 2, 3, or 4 players. We found it equally enjoyable. I do think it's a little more fun with 4 players or 3 players than 2, simply because the card that you're wanting might get taken, so there's a little more competition involved. But it still scales really well and it's fun regardless. One of my favorite aspects of this game is the variety of characters that you can play with. You've got Sasquatch at the Forest Repository. You've got the Junkyard of Enlightenment with a trash golem. You've got the Haunted House of Learning with a ghost. Like, each one of these libraries is a unique location with different special abilities. Like the ghost, for example, isn't able to visit the Viner's hut, but can share spaces with opposing characters. So your little meeple that you have that's a custom creation, it usually has its own unique ability when you play it, and then your gnomes are just little assistants that just do whatever is on the location. What makes it even better, you don't have just player pawns. Each character card has its own unique meeple. Like, this is the Sasquatch. You've got a little wizard. You've got a bookworm. That's really cool. These are all completely custom meeples that are on par with honestly, the only thing that comes to mind is campy creatures. That's the only thing I can think of with this many custom, unique character meeples that are this well designed, that look this cool. The other thing that I like about this game is the art. Honestly, apart from the small text on the locations, it's actually really easy to follow and really easy to read and find your way across the board. The text is nice and big up here. It reminds you of how the game is played throughout in case you forget. It's relatively easy. Like I said, my only complaint with the art is on the locations and the player boards. The type is sometimes a little bit difficult to read, but that's about it. That's my only complaint with it. Beyond that, the actual artwork for the game is beautiful. Again, the meeples are gorgeous. The books are super creative, like the Tattletale Heart. That's really fun, and it's not something that they really even needed to go through, but every single card is different. That's a lot of books and ideas to come up with, and I think there's a lot of work that went into it, a lot of love that went into it, and it's very clear to me that whoever designed this game really cared about it. When they went and did the art, they put a lot of love into this game. Another thing I like about this game is it's honestly the perfect gateway game. It's really easy to get people to play this game and fall in love with it and want to play more. It's quick to learn, it's quick to teach, it's easy to play, and there's a lot of replayability and a lot of fun with it. So I definitely recommend picking this up if you're a new gamer. And if you're a seasoned gamer, pick it up. This is a game you can bring to your family's place to play with your family and friends during the holidays. It works really well for that. So there are 2 things about this game that bother me. The first is the dry erase board. I really like this dry erase board. It's really cool. It's really interesting. It's really fun. It's made to look like an official form. I love that. I love the creativity behind it. The only problem is I was an idiot and I left this cap undone. My dry erase pen is now completely dry, which means I have to use one of our other dry erase pens in order to make this thing work. And unfortunately, this pen is super small and I can't really get this at the local, craft store or whatever. So I can't replace this pen in the box. There's a special little slot that this goes into, and if I use one of my pens, it's not going to fit. Yes, that's kind of nitpicking, and it's my own fault for leaving this thing unplugged, but if they were going to do a dry erase pen, I wish they would have done a full-length pen so that I could replace it with my own pens at some time. That's nitpicking. I think this is really cool, but I think personally for me, I still prefer the tear-off sheets with a pencil, just because I never have to worry about it running out of ink. I can get whatever I need. Like if I lose this, I can't write down the score. So that's kind of my little issue with it. As cool as this is, again, I think I would have preferred the tear-off sheets. The second thing that concerns me about this game is if I were a new gamer, I would absolutely love this game. I would get a ton of use out of it, but as a seasoned gamer, I prefer medium weight and heavier games, just me personally. So I would love to see some expansions for this game to open it up, to add more replayability, to change things up a little bit. It feels like a game that's ripe for all sorts of expansions. I look forward to them when they happen. I would love to playtest them when they happen. But that's something I think this game is going to need soon. So that's my two small qualms with this game. I think it's really fun. I think it's really interesting. I think they're spot on with the art. I think Renegade Games did a great job with it. And honestly, it makes me want to buy more of their games. That's how much I enjoy this game. I hope you've enjoyed this review. I hope you enjoy the game. I hope you get out there, get it, play it, have fun with it. And if you do, please leave comments below. Let me know what you think of it. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you dislike it? I'd love to hear what you think. If there's any other games that you'd love me to be reviewing in my next upcoming videos, please be sure to let me know in the comments below. And as always, hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. Thanks so much for watching and have an awesome day.